is start off with some light-hearted stupidity. You know, something like, school threatens boy with sexual harassment charges over love notes. This is apparently school administrators threatened to file sexual harassment charges against her 9-year-old son, who gave a handwritten note to his crush. Well, the boy is clearly a rapist, but if you have the stomach for it, we'll actually check out the content of the note, just to see how much of a sparkle like diamonds. That's disgusting. That's absolutely horrible. This little kid is trying to use the time-honoured method of making her feel good about herself in order to get her to like him. That's awful. How can he do this? How dare he try to make this girl feel good about herself in order to increase her predisposition towards him? That's fucking disgraceful. Why didn't they fill out Form 32C so they could have done this formally and neutrally? You know, the way God intended, through totalitarian bureaucracy of bossy women. After the other kids in the playground started teasing this kid, the principal approached the kid's mum to tell her that it wasn't appropriate that he was writing the note, and if he writes another note, they're going to file sexual harassment charges against a 9-year-old boy. And they got the opinion of a professional psychologist to back this up, saying, this is not sexual harassment, because it's PC culture. Suddenly, nothing is really permissible, no matter how petty it is. And on the subject of petty, I won't be talking about the Missouri NDL and various other student riots. I've got a big video for that planned that I'll put out later in the week. Sticking with the theme of pointless, light-hearted news, apparently there is a film coming out called Gods of Egypt, and, wouldn't you know it, the whitewashed cast sparks anger. Now, I'm actually not on the other side of the issue, compared to the progressive opinion on this one. I do think that if you're going to have a film set in a certain era, in a certain place, then you should try and represent those people in that era and place as accurately as possible. So, having a Scottish guy playing an Egyptian pharaoh, or god, or whatever, but it's probably not going to accurately represent the time it's supposed to be representing. And it being a fantasy film is no excuse. It is one thing to believe that the gods of ancient Egypt might have had a hand in Egyptian affairs, but it's also completely another thing to believe that ancient Egyptians looked like Scottish people. This is basically just a reverse of the Black Vikings trope, and I really don't like it. Just, if you're going to portray something historical, try and portray it accurately, motherfucker. I suppose it depends on the time period. I actually don't know what era of history this film is supposed to be set in. I assume it's pre-Alexandria, which brings us to the progressive reaction to white people playing Egyptians. Dear Hollywood, white people did not rule ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt, well, I mean, presumably she's talking about before this guy, who was succeeded by this guy. And good God, look at that face. Look at that nose and chin and those lips. Look at those big lug hole ears. This is the whitest motherfucker I have ever seen in my life. And he was succeeded 7 times by his sons, who were breeding with their sisters, until Egypt was conquered by this guy. An even whiter guy than the previous guy. Look at these fuckers side by side. Look at those noses and those ears. Fucking huge. But look at the guy who followed him. His face looks like it's pasty and made of pork. But then Egypt was conquered by this kid. The whitest, skinniest kid who has ever... Look at those fucking ears. Look at the goddamn things. Look at his fucking face. He is... Like, this person is just so misinformed about what's actually happened. For over 950 years, white people ruled Egypt. And the thing is, normally this is not the sort of thing I would actually think about, but if you're going to look at history through a racial lens, which these people are, they could at least be honest. Look at this. Thoth, the god of wisdom, being played by a black dude. What can a progressive possibly have to complain about here? This is a very prestigious position. The god of wisdom. He's fucking intelligent. He's powerful. Look at him. He's doing some multiple character thing or something. I don't know. But he looks like he's an important fucking character. He looks like he might have something interesting to say. What is there to complain about? I cannot understand how they seriously cast Chadwick Boseman as a literal, all-knowing magic Negro. It's not the guy doesn't fit the fucking theme, because he does. The problem is that there is an out-of-context trope. that's being applied to a situation where it's not really necessary. But okay, was this down to racism? Are the producers confused? Ridley Scott defended his decision, claiming it was for commercial reasons. I can't mount a film of this budget, or I have to rely on tax rebates in Spain, and say that my lead actor is Mohammed so-and-so from such and such. It's just not going to get financed, so the question doesn't even come up. Oh God, Ridley, that's not an answer that's going to satisfy them. They're going to say something like, why exactly is Mohammed going to be a name that doesn't get funded? And you'll say, well, because there aren't any famous actors called Mohammed. No one knows these guys. And they're like, yeah, but why doesn't nobody know these guys? I'll say, well, because no one's done these films yet. Yeah, but why not? Because of white supremacy. White people in their own countries have been making films with white people in. How dare they, Ridley? How dare they? And Ridley Scott's going to be sat there going, well, I guess so. I mean, we weren't intentionally trying to be racist. And they're like, we know. But you were being, so now you're going to have to do everything that we say. And also you're going to have to pay us for the privilege. In other retarded progressive news, Vice magazine published the stupidest article on the gender pay gap that I have ever seen. The arguments presented in it are so bad, it's breathtaking. Starting with this first image that you can see. Yes, it's remarkable that feminists are so concerned about CEOs being 50% female, but the number of female sewage workers probably being about less than 1% is just fine. So it was because of Equal Pay Day in the UK, which was last Monday, where apparently women get paid less than men. 14.2% in the UK to be precise, which is much lower than the usual feminist estimates. But the word you're looking for is earn. Earn less than men. They don't get paid less than men because that would be illegal, and you could sue them. Myth number 1. Women don't get paid the same because they don't want to do hard jobs. And here's Twitter user Norb Delta with, oh look, the links to the documented evidence that he's using to prove that not only do men work more hours overall, but they also are the majority gender, the overwhelming. They really am. But these things are true. So what's our feminists' brilliant response? A seemingly limitless ignorance of how women's choices affect their earning capacity. She says, it's also displaying the most fundamental ignorance about the historical and systematic demeaning of women's labour. Like, a system is set up with the end goal of demeaning women's labour. Not systemic, an unintended consequence or side effect. No. Systematic. That women have traditionally worked as unpaid carers to everyone around them. Manual labour is undeniably a hard grind, but do you know what else is? Cleaning shitty diapers. Especially the shitty diapers of your 80-year-old mother. Yeah, but that's not an industry. You don't get paid for that. That's not fucking work. That's housekeeping, as gross and difficult as it is. And the argument just keeps getting better. Let's just drag this into 2015, where not all women are mothers and great societal strides like gay marriage, abortion and the pill have happened, and women have proved their capacity for hard work on an industrial scale. A link that goes to a BBC article about 19th century factory workers. Only 11% of the construction industry is female, and 1% work on building sites. Why? Maybe it's got something to do with the fact that there aren't any other women working on building sites. Fuck you. Have we been excluded from every single level? Why would any girl want to be a scaffolder? Well, you can stop the sentence there, but when she's never seen a woman doing it? Because she might be a fucking pioneer, you maniac. She might think, hey, I really like the look of that, and I'm not going to let fucking the fact that no one else is doing it stop me. Why would it stop you? Jesus Christ, are you sheep? Is that what you think of women? But this argument is so internally inconsistent with the rest of the piece. You're arguing sexism, and here you are giving a real-world reason as to why they would earn less. This isn't the result of institutional sexism, this is just the result of women being nervous to do something they've never done before. And I don't even know that that's not true, but what the author's argument is actually doing is reinforcing the idea that there should be, in total, a gender wage gap. Because these women are not full. Because you can see just by myth 2 of 5 that this person is a fucking moron. Myth 2, women are not as clever as men, which is a complete misinterpretation of what Norb Delta's tweet actually means. Because he's calling you an idiot for thinking that if any business could hire women to do the same job at like 15 or 30% less than men, why would they ever hire a man? means there is a distinct logical